Okay, here comes a good one. Unexpected in the shadows. I like to put unexpected things everywhere. I don't know, you ever remember being a kid and playing with the shadows on the wall and doing the little birds? Hi, welcome to Give Your Walls Some Soul. I'm Shannon Grissom. Well, I keep telling everybody that we're going to paint a huge cow on the next show, and I was all geared up for it, but I looked at my reference photos and I really didn't like anything I saw. So my mission between now and the next shoot is to really get a good close-up of a cow's face, because that's what I really wanted to do. So in the meantime, I was at my sister-in-law's and I saw this statue of a Buddha and he just cracked me up. I loved the way the light was hitting him. So I took some photos and I basically roughed him in. So what you're going to see is normally on the show I get the painting to a certain state in just the hour. So what you're seeing now is what I did in the first statement to get it there, and now you'll be able to see how I finish a painting, or at least get close to finishing. We'll see what happens. So let me get over here so you can see what we're doing here. This is late afternoon light, and so it looks like pretty much a value statement. It's not black and white. It does have it. I mixed some. I think it was Perylene Scarlet, Dioxazine Purple, and some Sap Green, and got this nice rich background color. And maybe use two or three values here to rough him in. And what I'm going to do today is he's basically got the mediums are in pretty well and the medium darks, but the lights need to be reestablished. He's totally dry. And it's a very thin coat, and what I'm going to do is put all the lights over the top. So we'll do glazing and scumbling and lots of different techniques. So where am I going to start? I'm going to start in the background and throw some green over the top. It's a good way to get your juices going. I got to get a good brush that's not too stiff. So I'm going to grab some sap green, pull that down. I don't have to paint the background green. There was just some nice eucalyptus back there, and I just want to just have that feeling rather than painting all the individual leaves. So what did I do is I took some sap green, dipped it in lots of the medium so that it's really runny. I'm going to go over the top of this, and I can tell you right now it's not showing enough. So I'm going to stop and grab some green gold, which I didn't put on today's palette list because I thought of that on the way out the door. If you ever see a color that I don't talk about, you can email me at shannon@shannongrissom.com. Speaking of emails, I wanted to bring up again Jim Calici. Here's this man from Santa Cruz area who on his 80th birthday was watching this show, went out, bought some paints, and now he's painting. And I'm just so stoked that you're doing this, Jim. That's great. All right, here's some green gold. Oh, that's better. You can see that. The other just wasn't showing up. And I'm just scribbling over the top here. It's fun. Scribbling is good. I want the illusion of texture. You can have tactile texture where the paint is thick, or you can have the illusion of texture. Typically, I make it look textured, but I don't typically use thick paint unless it's a loose landscape. Okay. Move over to the other side. I may I've glazed over the top of this, and I may add some light and some more opaque colors later. But I want to work all over this painting first before I decide. This guy's ears are huge, and I love the belly. The belly was just one of my favorite parts. I like to have things be three-dimensional. Okay. I'm avoiding this little area here on purpose because I need to correct my drawing a little bit. I think I'm going to have this light go up just a little bit higher here. So I should really fix that before I start putting green in there, because I don't really want the green there. So how am I going to do that? First, I'm going to blend this in a little bit before I skip over there. But that is really what happens in the painting process. I'm in the middle of doing something, and I notice something else I want to do. Sometimes it's okay to jump over there and fix it, and sometimes it's really good to stay focused. I should probably stay focused when I'm talking to you, but it doesn't always happen. Okay. I like that. I'll add a little bit over here, and then I have to leave it alone for now. I don't know if you can even see the bit of green here. Probably tell that it's shiny. Okay. Now I'm going to add some light and correct this drawing error. When I first sketch something and rough it in, I blend it. You can see that the edges aren't distinct. I blend everything really well so that when I do go over it, there's no huge ridges to cover up in case I do want to change my drawing. So this is flat. It's not going to be a problem to make this a little bit higher. I'm taking some white, a little bit of cad yellow deep. I mean, just a tiny bit on the knife. And I mix that with the white. This was on a second story. It's got a really nice balcony. And it's just a beautiful evening out there. She doesn't get wind like we do. Okay. I'm taking a flat brush because it's squared off because it has more control. And I am more worried about having a little more control at this stage of the painting. But still, I'm not going to be too fussy. Now this is too thin. I used too much medium, so it's not going to go on right. So I'm going to stop right now, wipe my brush. I'm even going to wipe some of the right over the canvas, what I just put down, because it's too runny. Okay, this is better. When I really need something to be straight, I actually have a T-square that I'll use in the studio. I don't care that this is perfectly straight. I wanted it slightly angled, and concrete has little definite pores, and so it's okay if there's little jagged lines here and there. I can still see some of my pencil marks. I'm gonna get rid of that. See, and if I didn't, if that end is a little bit too uneven, then you just straighten it out. Okay. Is it the same color as what was there? No, I don't care. I want that light, and I'm adding some interest. You can still see some of the dark underneath, so I may change that later. I may go over it one more time, but you'll get the idea. All right, so it's a little bit lighter here, and because there's no red in this painting, well, there was a little bit in the background. I need to rectify that. So I'm going to add just a touch Cad Red Light to this mixture, just so that it has a little red glow to it. But it's not, it's almost peachy. It's not red like you've seen me use. Yeah, I like that. See, I'm just working that in. It's this dark against light that's really going to make this guy pop. So the little muted, I was going to call it wussy color. That's just not nice, is it? Okay, but it was muted and it just didn't have the punch that I wanted. And that's just because that I have blended it. So now it looks so much better. It really, it's the whole play of light against dark that's going to make this work. So I'm going to go over to the other side, put some over here. And then I'll start working on the Buddha, really I will. I want to address this bottom. Okay, I like this is better, although it still could go higher. I'm going to look in the mirror and see what I think. Yeah, I'm going to make it higher. I hope you're noticing, and if you haven't so far, I'll just tell you, that when I started painting from scratch, there's a lot of furious, fast, incredible energy that goes into that section of the painting. When I'm at this stage of the painting, it's more contemplative. So there will be a lot of looking back, seeing what I need to do, reflecting on that. Okay, I'm gonna raise this even higher. And then I'm going to stop playing with it because we don't want half the show. Whoops. Yeah. That was definitely a whoops. We don't want half the show to be on this one little line here. Okay. Yeah, I like that better. All right. So now I can stop. And let's look at this. We're tidying up the drawing here. I'm going to look at this bottom section here. I'll get this out of the way. No, that's got to be distracting. And I'm just going to rough this in. So let's see. This starts about right here. That's why I don't do a detailed drawing, because there's so many corrections, so many changes that I make. You know, maybe if I were a better drawer, I would. But I'm a better painter than I am a drawer. Okay. Now I need to stop there, but I'm going to wipe my brush again. I want to use a little bit more neutral color. So I'm going to take this green, mix it with the red. You know what? That's what I did the last time, and that's fine. That's fine that I'm mixing the same color, but you know what? I need to vary that a little bit. So I'm going to add a little bit of this lighter mixture here. And the whole thing was totally warm, and I'm going to add a little bit of cool, add some blue to it. Maybe a little dioxazine purple. It might be over the top, but hey, got to experiment. And if you can't experiment on company, that's how I like to cook. I know I've talked about this before. I always try new recipes on company, so it's the same thing with painting. If I'm going to experiment, I might as well show you what the process is like. Okay, so I mixed a nice neutral. And let's see where that line goes here. The edge of this, and I like how he's a little bit cockeyed. And let's see, where does that stop? Stops about right here. I don't think that's there. That's better. A little bit of blue. That's a little too blue, so I'm going to tone it down. I have to put it back down here so that I don't knock it off. And I really did go overboard with the blue, so I'm going to fix that. I'm actually going to turn the canvas because it's going to be easier for me to paint. And it's only for a second, and then I'll flip it back. Yeah, I like that purple better. So it's never too late to change your mind. Definitely need this contrast of light and dark, otherwise I'm wrecking my nice little bright spot that I just put in. And it's funny, you'd think the first thing you would do is get right on the Buddha and just start making him come to life. But it's the things that go on in the background that really make him sing. Now it also depends on, I'm turning it again, where this is showing in your viewing area. Well, you notice that mostly through the summer, bright, loud, bold colors were all that you'd see on the palette and on the paintings. And in the fall, the fall tones, I'm definitely affected by the seasons. So I'm calming down a little bit, for me anyway. And it's interesting because in the studio I have a mix of work going on that's making that transition. Okay, that's good. And this needs to be really dark. And I'm just going to, I'm going to take some straight blue and just glaze that over the top. This is a quick way to get it done. And you'd think that this blue would be too loud, but on top of what's already there, it should be fine. And if not, we'll change it. Oops. I'm lifting it up just to get this done. I love how the red's showing up underneath. That's great. We'll get this done and start working on his belly. Okay, I left some of the red showing through. And that's good because he's starting to look like, I'll pull this up because it's just really hard to see with that lip of the canvas. But I will adjust this angle here so that it really looks like he's just precariously perched on this ledge. And he was. Okay, that will start to make sense. All right, I'm going to go ahead and correct one more drawing thing, and then we're just going to go in and play with the light, which is really my favorite part. So I need to mix, I'm going to take a little bit of yellow ochre, some of this red here. Reminds me of 49er colors. Okay, that's just a little too bright. But it'd be nice to have a little lighter accent down there. That's great. That will show up. Take a little bit of medium. And I'm going to have to lift it up one more time just to get this angle to show up. There, that's better. Okay, let me step back and see. All right, now just from this one little thing, it looks like he's going to fall off. And I like that. I want him to be just perched just on the edge. Okay. Now we'll start playing with light and dark. So if you take a look at him, he's got a lot of medium, but this darks need to be reestablished, the lights need to be reestablished, so that's what we're going to do. I could glaze over this and make a quick, I could try that just so you can see. Make some quick adjustments just by glazing, but I'd really like to add a lot of different color. So let me just do the darkest darks by glazing and then see how we can adjust everything else after that. What am I looking for in a brush here? I'm looking for a scruffy little brush that's seen better days. And I have a lot of those, a lot of those brushes. And that's what I'm going to use to glaze with. So by glazing, I dip it in the medium first and then straight into the pigment. And where's the darkest dark in him? Well, right under his chin and under his foot. I love that toe. Yeah. That's half the fun. Okay, and a little bit dark hair. Where else do I see some dark? He's got a nice little shadow. I could try some green. I'm going to try glazing with some green now. I'll wipe this off a little bit. Why did I switch? Because I was bored with the purple for no other reason that I didn't want the same glaze, the same color all over the piece. That gets boring. Okay. So we'll see if this works. And if not, we'll try something else. All right, so this is darker hair. That's nice. It's a warmer color. Now I think the brush is a little too scruffy because now I'm losing some of the nice edges, so I may have to change that. Let's try it around his tummy. Okay, his whole ear. This dark right here. He's got huge ears. Huge. They go all the way down. I don't think I even drew them as long as they are. Okay, there's some dark there. I'm avoiding his face. That's a whole nother section that we're going to do. That's nice. So it's mixing with some of the violet that was there. So it's not all the same. So you can see that with this basic drawing in and the basic sketch of that he's starting to come to life. All right, what else is you dark? He needs a little bit of dark and some violet over here. God, I missed that whole section of his leg. There are things you don't see the first time around, or at least things that I miss. All right, so what's going on? He's got a little bit of cloths or something that's coming down here. I'm adjusting the drawing again. See, when you paint, you might not need to do this because your drawing might be great from the get-go. I don't have that kind of patience to make my drawing perfect. I just want to start painting. So that's how my process is. So you got to go with whatever works for you. It's easier for me to say more with just a few brush strokes than it is with a pencil repeatedly. Okay, so there's a little more. I'm just going to throw dark over the whole thing here. You'll be able to still see through what's there. This whole section needs to be darker. Oh, it kind of faded into the background. This is way lighter than I have it there, so that's fine. I'll stop. In fact, I should have stopped earlier. And that's not a problem if you don't. You just take a paper towel, especially since it's dry underneath. You take off what you don't want. Okay, where else? This whole side is light. I think I need to brush with a little bit better, a little bit more control around his little toes. Let's see, he's got this big old dark spot there. Shadow from the feet. That's light, and that all got blended away. I don't even know what half of this stuff is because I know nothing about the Buddha. I just know that I like the statue. This reminds me of pineapples and painting pineapples, so that's how I'm going to treat this. I'm sure I'll get an email about what it really is, which would be great. I think we need some yellow ochre here. Warm this thing up a bit. I love these little spiral shapes. I know it's a gratitude symbol, so that's always cool. Okay, now I step back and look at it, and he's starting to look three-dimensional. Let's see. And because I'm not putting the same, I'm dipping into a little bit of red, a little bit of green. He's not going to be boring, hopefully. Oh, that's a nice warm, nice ochre color. So I'll start adding some of the ochres since I got it on my brush. Okay, now the other thing that's different about this stage of painting and how I'm handling this is normally you see me mixing everything, carefully mixing, and then, well, sort of kind of carefully, and then putting it on the canvas. And well, I started out that way, but I'm putting my brush right into the straight tube colors. I'm mixing on the canvas, so it's a lot different than how I start a painting. So I thought it would really be important to see this section of it without having to do a three-parter and put you guys to sleep. Oh, nice ochre. In fact, I probably should have put that down first, but oh well. It's there now. I am kind of jumping all over. What I really should do, and I am going to stop and do this, I put in the darks, and the thing that could happen that could be really a problem is that I'd lose all the lights, and I'd be back to this medium, which is what I started with. So I'm going to stop what I'm doing right now, put in my lightest lights first so that they'll automatically be there, and then hopefully I won't overblend them. Hopefully. So I'm stopping what I'm doing. Gonna mix the lightest light. Well, I'm gonna add a little yellow ochre to this cad yellow deep. And then I'm gonna add some yellow ochre and maybe a little Indian yellow. And that's just too yellow. So maybe not. I'm going to move that over, grab some more white. I'm using a different brand of white today, and I don't like it as well as the stuff I normally use. So if you find something that's working for you, stick with it. But you know what? I had to experiment. All right, let's see. I need a brush where I have a little bit more control. So I'm going for a smaller brush. So you'll see at this stage of the game, I am using smaller brushes than I would normally use. All right, let's just be bold with the bright. Well, right here on his nose, his little eyebrow, his cheek. We don't want to be too boring here, so I'm grabbing a little bit of this gold. Where else is it really light? Right above his nose here. His bottom lip. Although, the way I drew it the first time, he looks like he doesn't look happy. I'm not sure what he looks like, but that's not what I intended, but that's what happened. All right, so that's light. I'm going to fix this little shadow here. And where else? This is light. You know, this section here really needs to be light in order for that to pop out against the background. So I'm going to be a little more careful about how I do that. There are times when I'm actually careful. Okay, more light on this edge here. I'm not outlining this because that would just really, you need to break up these strokes so it's not boring. It needs to have movement. Okay, so we're right across here, around his navel. And I'm going to step back. And it looks extreme Buddha. That's what we're doing today. But hopefully I can clean them up by the time this is done. Good thing he has a sense of humor. There's some light under his nose. Where else? Oh, I have to address that hand that I missed last time. So really, this plane is light. And he's got some more light hair. That's what I had to erase a little bit with the paper towel. All right, so he's got, his feet are a little wonky. We got to just address this little toe here. And you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Statuary is great lessons. Watch how the light hits it during different parts of the day. And then when you like the light the best, go out there and start painting. Or take a picture. The last time we visited my sister-in-law, I did a. See, I know that looks really funky, but it's, you know, that's what the light's doing. The last time I visited my sister-in-law, or not the last time, but one of the times, I did a pastel painting of this Buddha. He just cracks me up. Okay, so we need a little light here. I'm a little more boring with this light than I would normally be, but I don't want to over blend this and lose it. Okay, so this needs to be light right here. That's happy. All right, that starts to get darker over there. I don't want to mess with that. He's got that light place right here above his little eyebrow. This is light. It's just a little squiggly line. Just paint what you see. Okay, and then rather than making his toes be really complicated, just a little blob here. Put it down and leave it. That's easier said than done, I know. I didn't do it. I messed with it. Okay, so we got his big toe there, and sometimes I gotta count them because other than that, I'm gonna lose sight of where I am. So we got a little there, there, and they're not. It needs to be bigger so that they need to line up a little bit better. Okay, and then this needs to be lighter, but we'll fix that. That's not quite light. So what am I asking myself everywhere I go? How light or dark is it? How bright or dull is it? I'm just dabbing stuff here. Okay, so he's light here, and I'm just going over the whole thing. What did I miss? What did I forget? Lots of stuff. I love these spirals. They're just fun. And you don't have to paint every little thing that you see on the statue either. It's just nice to get the values right, and they'll start to pop. So I've got some lights and some darks in there, and I need to put some medium tone. This needs to be one more really extreme light on the extreme Buddha here. That works. That's not even the shape that was there, but I liked it. All right, what am I missing here? His whole rest of his little hand. Okay, so that's just kind of hanging there. He's got weird fingers. There needs to be some more stuff happening there. So I just put it in. Okay, I need some more of a medium tone here because now I'll go overboard with the light, and I don't want to do that. Imagine that, me going overboard with something. Now if you look close, it looks like blobs. He's starting to pop, but he also needs that whole, he's got the dark, he's got the lights, he needs the mediums. So let's throw in some ochre over the top. I might just throw some straight ochre with a little bit of liquid. Okay, the only reason I didn't do straight is I had too much medium there. That's better. All right, let's see. Ooh, I like that. That might not have been the right spot for that, but I like it. Like it. Okay, oh God, I forgot his navel, which is just the part that cracks me up anyway. Saw baby pictures of me and my sister when we were newborns, or not newborns, but probably about the time of our, maybe a couple months old, about the time of our baptism. And we looked like Buddha babies. Our little tummies were like that. I'm a twin. Now, I had no hair. My sister had tons of hair. But I definitely had a Buddha belly. Okay, I like this because it's warm, it's darker, and I'm blending it into this light. And I'm going to take some of this up here and do the same thing. And yes, it's warmer than what I saw, but that's okay. I mean, it's your reality when you're painting, so paint it like you like it. I used to think when I started painting, I tried so much to get a likeness that I would copy the picture exactly and really, or try to anyway, and really focus on that. And that's how I taught myself to paint. But make what you like. Make what you like. Okay. Where do I want some more ochre? Some there. It needs to have a little on the side. Ears. Well, those are long ears. It just blows me away. Wow. You know, when you're drawing ears on a portrait, you think of where my ears end, right here, okay? So look at where my ears end on my face as opposed to this Buddha. It's touching his belly, just about. You know, before you make something get to where it's going, you usually make a mess. I make a mess. Paintings are like, goes through an adolescence, a birth stage, the adolescence stage, and then hopefully it gets where it's going. If not, in the trash can. Okay, so there's a little foot. I can see I have to reestablish some darks, but I'm gonna wait and see if I can get some of the mediums in first. And I want to play around with that. I do have to dress his face too before this show's over. Okay, it's pretty dark over here, so I'm. Oops. Not that dark. I may have to go back in with some of the violets to reinstate that. That's okay. I'm just blending it together, right? Mixing the paint right on the canvas. You can still see the underpainting. Okay, that needs to be darker. That value is not dark enough. I'm going to grab some, I'm just going to pull this violet out of his navel, yes, and make that dark. And lightly blend it to the rest of this side here. It was a little too high, so I'll have to fix that. This needs to be darker. So you keep adjusting. Okay, now I'm going to blend with a clean brush and a paper towel. I keep wiping, and before I do that, I'm going to just really cover up. I went overboard on that color there, yeah, so it needs to be just light. There, that's better. It's so soft in here. It looks like the way the pigment is. It looks like a watercolor. It's really cool. Now, when I'm home in the studio, I could just sit there and go, wow, man, for a while, but I can't do that. Got to get it to a certain place here. Yeah, that's really nice. Okay. And I'm going to blend this a little bit. I have to spend a little time on his face. Got to fix this poor guy's face before the end of the show. I'm adding a little bit of reflected light on this side, a little bit right here, speaking of the face. It's a little reflected light, so I'm going to add a little bit of blue. Reflected light's always cooler. Well, it's just about always cooler. Sometimes weird things happen. And I need to reinstate the dark on his face. And I think I'm going to do that before I clean up the rest of the painting, because that needs to make sense. All right, so where's he darkest? Right here. He's got these little whoops. Eyebrows make a big difference in what happens in somebody's face. We're going to make them happy. And, right, we want to turn up his little mouth here. Whoops. There was a big blob of paint that I didn't expect, but we'll just run with it. Where else is dark? Right under his nose. Now, I don't like the way the light hit his cheek here, so I'm not going to paint it exactly like it is in the photograph. I will make it a little darker, but it was a little too harsh. I could have probably I know I could have set it up better so that didn't happen. But no, I was just in the moment. All right, so he's got another little extra chin here. Oh, we're adding some red. And under his lips, we need to have that darker too. That's cool. All right, so I'm gonna add that. Almost outline his big ears. Okay. Let's see what his little ear is doing here. I use little as a term of endearment rather than actual size. Okay, now I need to step back and see what it's doing. He's starting to work. Need to fix some of the more of the light. There's some reflected light up here. And his little nose. Now I'm going to add a little bit of the ochre. Almost straight ochre over the top here. That needs to be darker. Now I'm going to do the two brush thing when you get toward the end here. And because that wasn't dark enough. And he started to look like the Mr. Peanut guy. No, I can't do that. I could paint a monocle on him. Okay, that's better. Way better. You know what's wrong? There's just no red in this painting. Let's give some red cheeks, even though this is not there at all. I have to be selective about where I put this stuff. All right, a little more ochre. And this has got that reflected light, so I'm just going to put it down here. Ooh, that's way warm for reflected light. Whoops. We're just going to go with it. Okay, and then put some dark in here. So this middle process, because you know what, this is definitely not going to be the end before we're through, is a lot of futzing around, and then you finally get there. A little lighter here, and then I'm going to blend. I'm going to blend this. I'm going to have to reestablish some of the darks that I overblended. So it's just this back and forth, back and forth. He's got a little bit lighter mouth here. We're getting there. So I'm blending the heck out of everything because we're almost out of time. And I'm going to step back and look at it and say, okay, what do I need to do to just totally bring him back to where he needs to be? The big, not the garbage can. He's just not done yet, but just the big old blending brush. Now, did you see how brave I am? I'm just going over the top of the whole thing. Now, why am I doing this? Because we have a few minutes left in the show. I'm not done with the painting, and I want everything blended so that when I do finally finish it, I won't have to worry about it. So what I'm doing is I cleaned up the face so that I'll be able to go back into that later. I started to bring more form to the belly, to the arms, started to have more interest, knocked him off his little perch, made sure that was precarious. So things are starting to come together here, but he is kind of complicated, so you're not going to get him done in just 1 or 2 shots. Am I going to bring him back? Nah. I don't know. Maybe I could put the darks in and just really punch him up in just a couple seconds, but we really don't have that kind of time. So what's the lesson in all this? Get your first statement in, put your darks and lights in, and this is your second statement. Go ahead and start to add color. You know what, I'll probably bring him back because that way it'll make a lot more sense to you. So on the next episode of Give Your Wall Some Soul, I'm going to bring the Buddha back. The cows are just going to have to wait because, you know, I just don't have the right picture. So I'll go ahead and bring him back and really tighten him up. Now, in just a couple seconds, can I add some more darks and really make a huge difference? Let me show you something really bold and just see if it works. If it doesn't, oh well. Okay, so where's the rest of the dark? Over here. This is dark. Where's there another big old thing of dark? You see how loose I'm getting? Where else is it dark? Right here. I'm going right over the top of what I did. That's dark. This whole side. See, that's already making a difference. This part's dark. That's dark. A little bit too much. Okay, so just with a little bit, he's already popping out more than you'd think he was, you know, just. So sometimes I give up a little too soon. 5 minutes before the miracle. So I'm going to blend him, still blend him away because I'm going to work on him some more. See how adding that bit of dark made a difference? Anything that's too much, just blend it some more. I'm not going to touch this part of his navel because that was good. And I'm just knocking down these high places with the light. A little bit here, a little bit there. Don't be afraid to just beat on it. Okay, that made a difference. So he's 3/4 of the way here. He looks like a mess. He looks like a mud face, but with just a little bit more work, he'll be a finished painting. So I think what I'll do is maybe we'll have half the show finishing him next time and half the show on something else. Thanks so much for watching Give Your Wall Some Soul. I'm Shannon Grissom.